105. Sima Yi Feigns' illness. Several years after Zhuge Liang's death, the Shu Han kingdom only took a defensive stance against Wei. Although the Wei kingdom grew stronger, internal turmoil erupted. Sima Yi, a prominent general of Wei, came from a noble landowning family. When Cao Cao first took power, he summoned Sima Yi to serve as an official. However, Sima Yi despised Cao Cao's humble origins and was unwilling to respond to the summons. Fearing he might offend Cao Cao, he pretended to be paralyzed by a stroke. Suspicious of Sima Yi's excuses, Cao Cao sent an assassin to investigate by sneaking into Sima Yi's bedroom late at night. There, the assassin found Sima Yi lying stiffly on his bed. Still doubtful, the assassin drew his blade and placed it on Sima Yi's body, pretending to strike him. He believed that if Sima Yi were not truly paralyzed, he would be terrified and react. However, Sima Yi remained completely still, merely widening his eyes to look at the assassin. Seeing this, the assassin finally believed Sima Yi's condition, sheathed his blade, and reported back to Cao Cao. Sima Yi knew that Cao Cao would not give up on recruiting him. After some time, he spread rumors that he had recovered from his illness. When Cao Cao summoned him again, he accepted the call. Over the years, Sima Yi held significant positions under both Cao Cao and his successor, Emperor Cao Pai. By the time Emperor Cao Rui ascended to the throne, Sima Yi was already a senior statesman in Wei. Since he had long commanded troops in the Western Front against Shu, much of Wei's military power was under his control. Later, when Gongsun Yuan, the governor of Liaodong, rebelled against Wei with the support of the Jian'ge nobility, Emperor Cao Rui sent Sima Yi to suppress the rebellion. After pacifying Liaodong, Sima Yi was preparing to return to the capital when an urgent imperial decree from Luoyang arrived, ordering him to return immediately. Upon his arrival, he found Emperor Cao Rui gravely ill. The emperor summoned both Sima Yi and the imperial noble Cao Shuang to his bedside, entrusting them with the responsibility of assisting his heir, the young prince Cao Fang. After Emperor Cao Rui's death, the prince ascended the throne as Emperor Cao Fang, while Cao Shuang became Grand General, and Sima Yi was appointed Grand Commandant. Each of them commanded 3,000 soldiers and took turns guarding the imperial palace. Although Cao Shuang belonged to the royal family, he was far less capable and experienced than Sima Yi. At first, Cao Shuang respected Sima Yi and often consulted him on important matters. However, his close advisors warned him, saying, "Power must not be shared with outsiders." Acting on their advice, he orchestrated Sima Yi's promotion to Grand Tutor, which was a nominally prestigious title but stripped him of his military authority. He then placed his own confidants and family members in key government positions. Sima Yi observed all of this but feigned ignorance, never interfering. With power firmly in his grasp, Cao Shuang indulged in pleasure and led a debauched lifestyle. To assert his authority, he even led a military campaign against Shu, but the campaign ended in disaster, with his army nearly wiped out. Sima Yi remained outwardly silent but had his own plans in mind. As he had indeed grown old, he claimed to be seriously ill and stopped attending court. When Cao Shuang heard of Sima Yi's illness, he was delighted but still harbored some doubts. He wanted to confirm whether Sima Yi was truly incapacitated. At one point, Cao Shuang appointed his confidant, Li Sheng, as governor of Jian'ge. Before leaving for his post, Li Sheng visited Sima Yi's residence to bid farewell. Cao Shuang also instructed him to secretly assess Sima Yi's condition. When Li Sheng arrived, he found Sima Yi lying in bed, attended by 2 maidservants who were feeding him porridge. Sima Yi did not use his hands to hold the bowl but instead sipped directly from it. Before he could drink much, the porridge dribbled down his chin, staining his clothes. Watching this scene, Li Sheng was convinced that Sima Yi was in pitiful condition. Li Sheng then said, "Your Excellency, I have been honored with an imperial appointment as governor of my home province, and I have come to bid you farewell." Sima Yi weakly gasped, "Oh, what a hardship for you. Bingju is in the north, close to the barbarian tribes. You must remain vigilant." Li Sheng corrected him, "Your Excellency, I am going to Jian'ge, not Bingju." Sima Yi pretended to be hard of hearing, and after Li Sheng repeated himself loudly, he finally muttered, "Ah, my old age has left me deaf. So, you are going to Jian'ge? That is excellent news." Upon leaving, Li Sheng reported everything to Cao Shuang. The Grand Tutor is barely clinging to life. You need not worry about him anymore. Hearing this, Cao Shuang was overjoyed. However, at the beginning of the year 249, during the New Year festival, Emperor Cao Fang and his court went outside the capital to pay respects at the imperial tombs. Cao Shuang, along with his brothers and close associates, accompanied him. Since Sima Yi was supposedly gravely ill, no one thought to invite him. But the moment Cao Shuang left the capital, Sima Yi miraculously recovered. He donned his armor, gathered his strength, and, together with his sons Sima Shi and Sima Zhao, led troops to seize control of the city gates and the imperial armory. He then issued a forged imperial edict in the name of the Empress Dowager, stripping Cao Shuang of his position as Grand General. When Cao Shuang and his party learned of this from outside the city, they were thrown into chaos. Some advisors suggested taking Emperor Cao Fang hostage and retreating to Xuchang to rally troops against Sima Yi. However, the pleasure-seeking Cao Shuang and his brothers lacked the courage to act. Sima Yi sent emissaries to persuade Cao Shuang to surrender, promising that if he relinquished his military power, he would be spared. Trusting these words, Cao Shuang obediently surrendered. A few days later, someone accused Cao Shuang and his associates of treason. Sima Yi had them all arrested and executed. From that point on, the Wei kingdom remained under the nominal rule of the Cao family, but real power had shifted into the hands of the Sima clan. 106. The ambition of Sima Zhao. 2 years after Sima Yi executed Cao Shuang, he also passed away. His son, Sima Shi, succeeded him in power. The authority of the Wei kingdom now lay in the hands of the Sima brothers, Sima Shi and Sima Zhao. Any official who opposed them was swiftly eliminated by Sima Shi. Emperor Cao Fang deeply resented Sima Shi. Some ministers even advised him to strip the Sima brothers of their military power. However, before Cao Fang could act, Sima Shi forced the Empress Dowager to depose him, replacing him with Cao Mao, a grandson of Emperor Cao Pai. Some Wei generals had already been dissatisfied with the Sima family's dominance. After Sima Shi deposed Cao Fang, Wen Qin, the inspector of Jian'ge, and Guanqiu Jian, the general who guards the east, raised an army to challenge his rule. Sima Shi personally led troops to suppress the rebellion, defeating Wen Qin and Guanqiu Jian. However, upon returning to Xuchang, Sima Shi fell ill and died. Following Sima Shi's death, his younger brother Sima Zhao assumed power as Grand General. The 3 generations of the Sima family, father and sons, were each more ruthless and autocratic than the last. Emperor Cao Mao could no longer endure this oppression. One day, he summoned 3 of his ministers, including Wang Jing, into the palace. Enraged, he declared, Sima Zhao's ambition is known to everyone on the street. I cannot sit idly by and wait for him to deal with me. Today, I am going to fight back, and I want you to join me. The ministers knew that going against Sima Zhao was like throwing an egg against a rock, so they urged the emperor to be patient and not stir up a great disaster. But Cao Mao pulled out a pre-written imperial decree from his robes, threw it on the ground, and said, I have already made up my mind. Even if I die, I will not regret it. Besides, it is not certain that I will die. With that, he went to inform the Empress Dowager. Little did he know that among the 3 ministers, 2 secretly slipped away and reported his plan to Sima Zhao. At just 20 years old, Cao Mao had no real knowledge of how to confront Sima Zhao. He hastily gathered the palace guards and eunuchs, making a noisy exit from the palace to launch his attack. He personally wielded a treasured sword and stood atop a carriage, commanding his men. Sima Zhao's trusted aide, Jian'ge, led a squad of soldiers to intercept the imperial guards. A fierce battle broke out. Cao Mao, standing at the front, shouted defiantly and swung his sword as he charged forward. Some of Jian'ge's soldiers hesitated, intimidated by the sight of the emperor fighting in person, and a few even considered fleeing. One of Jian'ge's officers, Jian'ge, turned to him and asked, "What should we do?" Jian'ge sternly rebuked him. "What do you think Sima Zhao has been raising you all for? Do you still need to ask?" Hearing this, Jian'ge mustered his courage, picked up a long spear, and thrust it straight into Cao Mao's chest. The young emperor had no time to defend himself and was fatally pierced, falling from his carriage and dying on the spot. When the news reached Sima Zhao, Even he was momentarily alarmed to learn that his men had actually killed the emperor. He quickly rushed to the court and gathered the officials to discuss the situation. Feigning sorrow, Sima Zhao turned to the senior minister Chen Tai and asked, "What should I do now?" Chen Tai replied, "Only by executing Jiao Chong can you give an explanation to the people of the empire." Sima Zhao hesitated and asked, "Is there any other way? Please think again." Chen Tai firmly responded, "In my opinion, there is no lighter punishment than this, only harsher ones." Hearing this, Sima Zhao fell silent, unwilling to take action. Later, he issued an imperial decree in the name of the Empress Dowager, falsely accusing Cao Mao of numerous crimes and demoting him posthumously to the status of a commoner. With this, he attempted to downplay the emperor's assassination. However, public outrage continued, with many criticizing Sima Zhao for not punishing those responsible for the emperor's murder. Unable to delay further, Sima Zhao shifted all the blame onto Jian'ge, accusing him of committing an unforgivable crime. Jian'ge and his entire family were executed. With Cao Mao eliminated, Sima Zhao selected another descendant of Cao Cao's lineage, the 15-year-old Cao Huan, to ascend the throne. He became known as Emperor Yuan of Wei. 107. Deng's secret passage through Jian'ge. After Sima Zhao orchestrated the death of Emperor Cao Mao, he believed that the internal situation of Wei was stabilized and decided to launch a full-scale invasion of Shu Han. By then, the ministers who had succeeded Zhuge Liang, Jian'ge and Fei Yi, had already passed away. The Grand General of Shu Han was now Jian'ge. Determined to continue Zhuge Liang's northern expeditions, Jian'ge launched almost annual attacks against Wei. However, Shu Han's strength was gradually weakening. Not only did Jian'ge fail to achieve victory, but he also wasted a significant amount of military resources. In the year 263, Sima Zhao dispatched 3 armies to invade Shu Han. Generals Deng and Zhuge Shu each led 30,000 troops, while Zhong Hui commanded over 100,000 troops, attacking from 3 separate routes. Seeing the overwhelming power of the Wei forces, Jian'ge knew he could not confront them head-on. He gathered his troops and fortified Jian'ge, in present-day Jian'ge County, Sichuan, securing this key mountain pass. When Zhong Hui arrived with his troops, he found himself unable to break through Jian'ge's defenses. Observing that Shu's main forces were concentrated at Jian'ge, Deng took a detour with an elite force, secretly advancing southward along a narrow, rugged mountain path west of Jian'ge. This route was almost untraveled by people. Deng and his troops carved paths through mountains, built bridges over rivers, and marched for 700 miles without being discovered by Shu forces. Finally, they reached an impassable point, a towering mountain with deep ravines blocking the way forward. By then, their rations were nearly exhausted, and the soldiers began to panic. At this critical moment, Deng made a bold decision. He wrapped himself in blankets and rolled down the steep cliffs. Seeing their commander take the lead, the soldiers followed suit, some grabbing onto tree branches, others carefully climbing down, one by one. In this way, they overcame the natural barrier and finally arrived at Jian'ge, present-day Jian'ge County, Sichuan. The Shu forces stationed in Jian'ge never expected an attack from behind. When they suddenly saw Wei troops beneath the city walls, they were caught completely off guard and surrendered without a fight. Deng continued advancing toward Mianzhu, present-day southwest Mianyang, Sichuan, where the city was defended by Zhuge, the son of Zhuge Liang. Deng sent envoys to persuade him to surrender, offering him the title of Prince of Langya if he complied. Hearing this, Zhuge was infuriated, executing Deng's envoys on the spot. He prepared for battle, determined to fight to the death. However, he was ultimately no match for Deng. Both Zhuge and his son Zhuge Shong perished in battle. With Mianzhu fallen, Deng marched straight toward Chengdu, the capital of Shu Han. The citizens of Chengdu had never imagined that the enemy could arrive so quickly. Upon hearing that Deng was at the city gates, many fled into the surrounding mountains and forests. The Shu court was thrown into chaos, and Emperor Liu Shan hurriedly convened his ministers to discuss the situation. Some advised fleeing south, others suggested seeking refuge in eastern Wu, and some believed that with Wei's forces pressing in, the best option was to surrender. Liu Shan, being indecisive and cowardly, had no intention of resisting. When Deng Ari's army arrived outside Chengdu, he ordered his hands to be tied behind his back and led his officials out of the city to surrender. Deng Ari, now in control of Chengdu, became arrogant and even disregarded Zhang Hui. He directly submitted a proposal to Sima Zhao, suggesting that they use this victory to immediately conquer eastern Wu. However, Sima Zhao sent back an order. Military actions must not be taken without approval. This infuriated Deng Ari. The fall of Shu and the betrayal of Deng Ari. Meanwhile, Jian'ge, still holding Jian'ge against Zhang Hui, received news of Chengdu's fall and planned to retreat to defend the capital. However, he soon received an imperial order from Liu Shan instructing him to surrender to Wei. The Shu soldiers, upon hearing this, were both furious and heartbroken. Some, overwhelmed with anger, drew their swords and struck at boulders in frustration. Jian'ge, however, remained calm. After consulting with his officers, he decided to surrender to Zhang Hui. Zhang Hui, who admired Jian'ge's talent, treated him with great respect. The two became close, sharing carriages and discussing military matters together. Jian'ge noticed the growing tension between Zhang Hui and Deng Ari and used this to his advantage. He persuaded Zhang Hui to secretly send a report to Sima Zhao, accusing Deng Ari of plotting rebellion. Sima Zhao was highly suspicious by nature. Upon receiving Zhang Hui's letter, he immediately issued an imperial decree in Emperor Cao Huan's name, ordering Deng Ari's arrest and transportation to Luoyang in an iron cage. To prevent Deng Ari from resisting, Sima Zhao also commanded Zhang Hui to lead troops into Chengdu. Upon arriving in Chengdu, Zhang Hui sent a force to imprison Deng Ari and escort him to Luoyang. However, during the journey, Deng Ari was assassinated. With Deng Ari eliminated, Zhang Hui now held sole military power in Shu. Seizing the opportunity, he decided to rebel against Sima Zhao. Zhang Hui's rebellion and the death of Jian'ge. Zhang Hui confided in Jian'ge about his rebellion, and Jian'ge fully supported the idea, but for his own reasons. Secretly, Jian'ge planned to use Zhang Hui to eliminate Wei's generals and then turn against Zhang Hui to restore Shu Han. Jian'ge even wrote a secret letter to Liu Shan, saying, "Your Majesty, please endure for a few more days. I will surely restore our nation." However, Zhang Hui remained unaware of Jian'ge's ulterior motives, believing that he was a loyal ally. He falsely issued an imperial edict in the name of the Empress Dowager, accusing Sima Zhao of murdering Emperor Cao Mao, and called upon his troops to rebel. Fearing resistance, Zhang Hui detained all Wei generals in the Shu palace to prevent them from interfering. Wei's officers were already suspicious of Zhang Hui's intentions. When rumors spread that Zhang Hui and Jian'ge planned to massacre all northern Wei officers, panic erupted. Some soldiers set fire to the palace, triggering a riot. As chaos engulfed Chengdu, the rebel army lost control. Zhang Hui and Jian'ge were both killed in the turmoil. Thus, the Shu Han kingdom perished, and the remnants of its people, along with Wei's forces, were left in disorder. Sima Zhao had eliminated all potential threats, securing complete control over the Wei Empire.